eyes flew open, blue and yellow flashing rapidly in the depths of Sans' left socket. Who could be doing this, or what? He sat up slowly and went to his door, opened it again, just as Papyrus was coming up the stairs. Just as before, his brother looked surprised.
Sans, you're up early. Are you...
Sans cut him off before he could finish.
I'm fine, Pep. Have you noticed anything weird lately? Like déjà vu?
Papyrus blinked and thought for a moment, a gloved hand going to his bottom jaw.
No, I haven't. Why? Is...
Again, Sans cut him off. He didn't usually do this, but this was really beginning to wear his nerves thin.
Everything is fine.
Papyrus looked surprised that Sans managed to answer his questions before he even had the chance to finish them twice in a row.
I'm gonna go check something out, okay, bro? Don't worry about me.
Sans walked past his brother, patting his shoulder and heading down the stairs, to slip out the door. Papyrus could do little more than stare, the whole conversation being so strange that for once he didn't know what to say. The day was spent filled with worry and anxiety. Usually, Sans would spend his time doing the opposite of what he was doing now, pacing around and waiting for the reset. Even when he tried to sit down or take a nap, he just couldn't. He was too stressed. He teleported to Hotland and considered using Elfie's lab to try and determine what was causing the resets, but wasn't even sure where to begin. The research had barely gotten far enough to figure out what the termination was and what it did, let alone how to pinpoint where it was being used. Surely, figuring that out now, when everything reset in under a day, was impossible. Somehow, Sans ended up staring at the core, fighting with himself over if he had done the right thing. Would they be in this situation now if he had done things differently? He sighed and rubbed his head. No, there was no point in arguing with himself over that. It was done. Right now he had to concentrate on the matter at hand, to figure out what was causing so many resets so close together. But when did he even start? Sans's eyes went dark, and he slowly crumpled into a heap, sitting down and pulling his legs against his chest. The underground was already a small place to begin with, and he was the only one who noticed the resets, or even knew anything about them. It made the world so much smaller. He lived in it alone. Not even Papyrus could bring him comfort. He pulled his hood up and yanked it over his eyes, as if he could somehow hide himself enough to simply stop existing altogether. His head was starting to throb, trying to keep up with all the resets, and he could feel the magic inside of him rattle around in agitation. He wasn't supposed to be able to remember them that well. Usually they were just bad dreams, or déjà vu, and nothing more. As horrible as that was, he preferred it that way. It was easier to deal with. But this? It was making him tired. His body wasn't suited to keep up with this. The tickle he felt from earlier during the reset now turned into a hard pounding behind where his eyes would normally be. From the darkness of his hood, he could see it glowing again. He could feel it coming. Anxiety welled up in his chest.
Stop!
His fingers clutched at his hood, and everything went black. Sans lay in bed, eyes wide. He couldn't calm down. His eye remained purplely glowing, and his head ached. Looking down, he could even see a faint glow under his shirt. That was probably bad. He didn't even hear Papyrus knock on the door until for him the first time. It took a few more tries before his eyes snapped to the door and he forced himself up, moving hurt. Everything was sore. He shuffled to the door and cracked it open.
Sans!
This time it was Papyrus's turn to cut himself off. He didn't recall seeing Sans so ill-looking before. And his eye.
Sans, I gotta go.
Sans grabbed his jacket and pushed past Papyrus. He couldn't listen to him repeat same questions over again. He couldn't look at the same expression. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do this.
Sans, please.
Papyrus said, consent dripping from his words. He reached for his brother's shoulder as he passed, grasping it with a gloved hand. Sans stopped but didn't turn around.
Sans, something is wrong. Please. Papyrus.
The taller skeleton froze, his hand slowly slipping off his brother's shoulder. Sans' voice was deeper than he had ever heard, and sounded like it was echoing all around him. Papyrus said nothing as he watched Sans walk down the stairs and out the door. Again, Sans found himself walking without any clear direction. He just felt like he needed to get away from Papyrus before he said something he regretted. Leaving him hanging like he had was bad enough. He wandered towards the ruin, stumbling between the trees. The pain was getting worse. His head was throbbing. The light from his eye reflected off the snow around him. Finally he stopped and leaned against one of the trees to catch his breath, taking a moment to peek under his shirt to see if his soul was still glowing. It was. Sans pulled at his hood, tugging it over his eyes as his body trembled. Just as he began to bend his knees to collapse into the snow, he felt the ground beneath him shift. The sound of snow dispersing behind him was followed by a chipper, happy voice he swore he had heard before.
Howdy!